So my neighbors, I got a replacement CV axle for my car again. So installing an aftermarket axle the last time I did this, there was some problems and I learned some lessons. So let's talk about some of the visual and physical inspections that we should do on a CV axle before doing an install. So let's get into it. So first thing, my first impression of this brand, of just looking at it out of the box, is that I like how it's packaged. Things are supported to make sure they need to support that because the dust shield is here, and if the box is rattling around during shipment, it could ding up the shield, which will make the axle useless. So I like how it's supported all around. Nice caution stuff. And big fat manual with lots of instructions, very comprehensive actually. We might have to go through this a little bit. You know, it's very good warnings here, stuff about if you're using a GM stub shaft, that this is a female end. So it's all good stuff. This book is this is impressive. This is much better than the instructions that I got for the Car Done brand, which is basically one card, which doesn't have any good information on here. Well, relevant to me because I'm using Subarus. They even got a page, Subaru axle replacement related vibrations. Now I gotta read this one in detail. Something about your engine mount. Let's take a read at it. You can probably take a screenshot or pause it. It took a few minutes to read this. I'm gonna digest it a little, and this is my summary of it. Basically, what it's saying is that if you happen to install this replacement axle, and this is a brand new axle, it's not a remanufactured unit. A remanufactured unit is one that's in an original OEM part that has been used, and of course it's been, I don't know, it's been to the junkyard or whatever, and you know, maybe the boots are replaced or something like that. Someone has remanufactured it basically, right, to sell it again. Now what they're saying is that when you install a new axle, the engine mounts, because it's an old car, the transmission mounts and the engine mounts are potentially been all loosened up. I mean, if you have a 10-year-old car, that's understandable. There's vibrations, and the engine mounts and the transmission mounts eventually become soft and spongy. That's what it's saying. Now, what it's saying is that essentially when it gets worn, your inboard CV joint, because of the way it's connected to the transmission and your bearing, essentially is saying that it becomes the point which takes all the pressure and vibration of the engine and the transmission. And if you're switching out from an OEM axle that has broken, and you may not feel any vibration in the car, right? Now when you replace it with a new axle, what it's saying is that because the axle is brand new, you stick it in there, it's going to be acting as the support. It is itself going to be acting as the mount, okay? Because it will be taking the pressure along with the wheels and the bearings, but mostly the inner joint. And it's saying because the inboard axle is brand new and everything fits nice and tight, that you may start hearing a vibration even at idle, right? And that kind of, to me, that kind of makes sense. Like, they have a nice, you know, explanation on that. But on the other hand, I kind of feel maybe it's like, hey, it's a warning sign. If you install this, you might get a vibration here or there, and then you might have to try installing a new engine mount. I don't know. I'm not too sure if that's I don't know. We'll see. I think there's something to it, but it probably just means, best practices when you install the new axle. You should probably install new engine mount as well. That's what kind of saying. But I'm not 100% convinced. They do have an explanation here. Is that in comparison, if you install a remanufactured unit, or you believe if you go and reinstall a remanufactured unit, the sound goes away, because a remanufactured unit, the inboard joint would not be repaired. Like they wouldn't, they would smooth it out and grind it down, but it won't ever be as thick as the original metal anymore, right? So there still is some looseness to it, and that's why you may not hear the vibration. So that's all this page is saying. So let's get into the inspection. So before we get into the obvious things to look out for, and we'll point that out in a bit, let's talk about the lesson that I learned the last time. Now, obviously we got to look that everything's complete, and I'll go through that. Right? You look for axle nut, okay. The splines, we're going to take a look at that. We're going to compare it with the original. And you look at what it comes with. So it comes with at the end here, I'm not sure if you can see, it comes with its own circlip, which is good, and the inboard splines, right? All those things, the specs should be from wherever you order it from. Now, the one thing you want to check on this one is, besides all that, which we're going to check in detail later on, is we're going to check if the joint itself is good. Because if the joint is not good itself, then no matter if everything else is okay, it's still going to give you problems. So now the inboard joint, we're going to grab that. It should be able to move in and out smoothly. You see, I can push it and pull it, push and pull it, very smooth. Okay, I should be able to rotate it, no clicks and everything like this, in and out. No unsmooth feelings, right? Okay, now let's go to the outboard joint. Let's feel if there should be very smooth. It should be a little stiff because it's new. Okay, it should be smooth, and there should be, now when you try to force the shaft in to the cup here, there should not be any clicking sound. Okay, it should not be loose, because eventually that looseness will end up it just gets looser and looser and looser. Okay, so this is what you got to check for. Push it in, pull it in and out. Now I do hear some clicking, which is a concern. A clickety click. So it should not click. I do hear but I do not know if that's necessarily a bad thing. It could be. But a matter of how much of a click, okay, and how much the axle moves when it's installed, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that might be an issue. Now, my friends, this step is critical, okay. If you know the specifications, we'll try to find out the specifications of the OEM joint CV axle. Its length must be the same, okay? Now the lesson I learned from my last one is that when I installed it, I felt like the aftermarket axle I got was slightly shorter than the OEM axle. I've installed a couple of these, and I can tell you, even on the same brand, my experience was completely different, okay? On the axle that didn't fail, the replacement axle that didn't fail, the length was exactly the same. On the one that did fail, it felt a little bit shorter. And again, I was confused by the documentation a little bit, because they said what matters is the compressed length of both axles. Well, You know what? It wasn't exact, but it was pretty close that I felt, and I accepted it. But not this time. I'm not gonna take that chance this time. If you lay it up like this, one axle on top of the other, you'll notice that this one is exactly the same, right? Where everything begins. Like, this is the detail, right? Where the shaft sticks out, how long the splines are, the dust shield all lined up. If I move it along here, you can tell that all the way up to where the back dust shield is, the oil guard or whatever, this shield is the same length, and all the way up to here is the same length. Now, you should not have to stretch or pull or anything on the axle, on the inboard joint in order to get it to that length. Okay, I mean, it looks like on camera it's different, but it actually is the same. Like, it's just the angling here, right? So next thing to verify is if the splines are the same. Okay, now, given that if the splines were different, you wouldn't be able to put it onto the car anyway, so you would instantly know. Let's just take a look at these things. Again, if the splines were different, the axle wouldn't slide onto the car. Okay. Okay. And of course, you gotta check the part number, right? So this part number was stamped into here, and is it the one that I ordered? Let me just check. SB8065. That is the one that I ordered. So it's good. This brand is extremely good because it does have a, well, I'm not saying extremely good, I'm just saying they're good about their packaging, at least, right? If you get a stamped code like this, you're pretty much guaranteed that this is the right part number, right? Other aftermarket stuff may not have that. This is actually pretty good. And check the dust shields. Are they the same size? Right? Yeah, it looks kind of good. So all in all, it looks good. I do have concern though about the play in there. It's not a play yet, but there's a clicking noise in there, right? It's not a clicking, but you know, you can feel it that, you know, when you move it in and out, there is a little bit of movement in there. So, you know, I do get a warranty from where I ordered this from, so I'm not too concerned. I may just install it, take the hit, and find out for you guys if this axle is worth it. I'll be reporting back after I install it once in a while to see if you know, if there's any issues, any vibrations. So now let's look at in terms of the clickety click sound. Let's take a look at the original joint. Let's see if that has that issue as well. Okay, like this, and force it in and out. I mean, yeah, it's the same kind of clickety click, but at least it's not banging together, right? The last one I had really banged together. Okay, so, and I had to replace this because the boot anyways. So this is the OEM. So I do feel a rattle in there, but then again, it's broken, right? That's why I have to replace it. Let's feel this one again. Is it more, less? Let's kind of feel it. Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, I definitely hear a louder, definite click in there. So, tough decision whether to install this one or not. Will it solve my vibration problems? Now, granted, on the other, what's it's not a remanufactured, a new axle, aftermarket. The problem with it is when I accelerate at highway speeds, only during acceleration I feel it start to vibrate. Okay, idling, no problem. Anything under 80 kilometers an hour, not an issue, right? So maybe I take a chance on this one, find out for you guys how it goes, because the place I do get it from, they do take warranty, and there is warranty on this part. So, well, gotta try it, right? Or else you never know. So my neighbors, yesterday I was actually extremely lucky. I was at the scrapyard and I actually found another CV axle, and just to show you, this is my original axle, which is from 2009. This is another axle which I pulled from the scrapyard. It looks OEM from what I can tell, because it has the green cups and the boot design is the same. But you notice that this is from a 2011, and the shaft itself is notably thinner, right? But what I want to focus on is that the lengths are the same. I checked on Subaru site, the parts are compatible with my car. So the 2009 and 2011s are compatible. In fact, they're compatible up to the 2013s. From 09 to 13, they're compatible. So look at this one. Compared with the aftermarket, look how smoothly the outer shaft is rotating. And when I push it in and out, although there is a tiny bit of play, this thing is, what, from 2011, is 14 years old. And the play in this one, you can hear a tiny bit, it's way less than the aftermarket one. In fact, the aftermarket one, and this is the inside, so smooth. In fact, the aftermarket one sounds like there's no grease in there. So I'm going to install this one. Okay? And after I remove the other aftermarket replacement, which is only 4 months old, I'm going to take it out and compare it with one of these. So stay tuned. So my friends, I pulled out my neighbors. I pulled out the aftermarket CV axle that I put in 4 months ago. I noticed this. I didn't try to pull it out of the socket, but as I was pulling it out of the transmission case, I must have popped it or something. But look at this. Oh my God. It's just busted. I don't know if this is my fault when I pulled it out, but, and take a look at this end. It doesn't look, there's clicking sounds in here. I mean, compared to the 15-year-old axle, this thing is worse. Mind you, I still have to test drive the car to see if the Junkyard OEM axle is better than this one. So let's go and do that. So my neighbors, let's go to conclusion. I test drove the new axle, the 14-year-old, or now probably close to 15-year-old axle in my car. And it's fine. It solved all the problems. No more vibrations. It's perfect. It's great. Now the next thing that might happen is, well, the boots may be, start going to wear down, but it's probably gonna last longer than my car. I'm hoping, right? Fingers crossed. So conclusion is, buying aftermarket buying axles in general is kind of like going to the supermarket, right? You have the bag of onions or the bag of potatoes that come in a sack, and then you got the produce that they put out on the tables, on the bins there, where you get to select them, right? Fortunately, aftermarket stuff is kind of like the sack of potatoes, right? You buy them, you can get one or a few in there that are extremely good. There's no doubt about it. But the rest of them in there could be bad, right? Whereas the OEM axles is kind of like the ones that the grocer puts up on the top in the morning of in the mornings. If you go early to the supermarket, the best ones are shown on top, right? So that's essentially the difference. There is such thing as a difference in quality in manufacturing, and that's how they bring you the price. Most of it's in the selection and the QA process. So I would say, when you go and get an aftermarket, that's not to avoid the aftermarket axles. Just make sure when you get it, you inspect it well. And I can't claim to say I know 100% what to look for, but I can tell you that the lesson is this. When I got this axle, the instruction says, look at the compressed length of the axle. That means pushing both ends together and see what the length is, right? Compared to you pushing your OEM axle together and seeing what that length is. The length should be the same. Well, I took that literally, and this is where it got me. I knew the axle, the compressed length was the same, but did you ever question what the full uncompressed length is? No, I didn't really look at that, right? I just installed it. It felt like it went in, and I could fit into the bearing with no problem. It fit a little too easy, right? That is what I found. So I don't know. That instruction is, I wouldn't follow that. It's just saying I should probably revise that video and make a correction there. But I should say that out of the box, when you just lay it down statically, both the OEM and the axle, the aftermarket axle, the new one, should be the same length. You shouldn't have to compress it. You shouldn't have to pull it. That's kind of just like language in the instructions to kind of say that, yeah, there's kind of manufacturing tolerances here, right? And you have to be careful about that. So that's what I said, coming out of the box, just jiggle it a bit, let it settle. I think the length has to be the same as the OEM, or if not, it has to be very close, just the way it lays, okay? If you have to really pull it or really push it just to, to get to the same length, return it. Don't get this one, right? Just tell your parts store that this one, you don't think that the length is right. This is the wrong part. And get another one. And like I said, it could be this one, the same brand. It's just you get really, it's the one in the sack it's that one in the sack that just wasn't good. So that's what I have come to the conclusion. You do have to pick, and sometimes it is difficult, right? You get a problem with your axle, and you order one, but in order for you to test the length, well, you actually got to take both. You got to take the old one off your car and to measure it, right? So that's the challenge, right? That's the sort of the trouble with it. If you take it out, oh, it doesn't fit. You got to put it back in, and you put it back in. Well, you're still driving with the same problems, right? So yeah, it's not easy. It's your choice at the end of the day, right? If you want hassle, trouble-free, you go with the OEM stuff. Most likely would not have a problem. But you go with the aftermarket stuff. At this point, I don't know what it is. Just if you buy from a parts store that allows easy returns, that's the best thing, right? See if it's shipped to you. See if they will cover the shipping cost, right? Or if it's a local, even better, right? You can just you can drop it back off at the store without a penalty. So that's really what we got to say here. So if you like this video, please thumbs up, like, and subscribe. It helps me make more content for you. Thank you. Have a nice day.